Gabe, thanks for your time.
Of course.
I'm actually going to throw some PvP questions because Torai's is obviously following Star Wars The Old Republic for 3 years, so I've actually got some questions from the community, so
okay.
Nothing too hard though. First one, are there any plans to allow lesser PvP tokens such as Centurion to be traded in for high tokens like Champion at a ratio, so a bit like Warzone tokens into mercenary accommodations?
Not likely. In Game Update 1.2, we're changing the whole way the PvP gearing up progression goes. The whole token and bag system was something interim because we didn't have 2 different tiers of PvP content. We're introducing ranked war zones. And so, I think I already mentioned this in a blog, but if not, here's the exclusive, right? Regular war zones will be giving out Warzone accommodations, and ranked war zones will be giving out ranked Warzone accommodations. And so there you have your 2 tiers. And then the other thing we'll be introducing is like an intro PvP set, something that is sorely needed, going from 50 and sort of like mid-40s blues to the first set of purples. There's too big of a gap there. And so we'll be having an intro set there as well.
Great. So what's the outlook for BioWare's rated PvP as far as, are you aiming for an e-sport paradigm or something a bit more casual?
Ultimately an esport paragon. This is the sort of phase 1 of it. It's going to be server specific. So once we get into, and we're working on cross-server queuing, so once we get cross-server queuing in there, it'll be season 1, so to speak, this being the sort of pre-season. So it's phase 1 of ultimately getting to like an esport type situation.
This one was a common question, I'll probably bring a smiley face. When, this is the quote, are DPS meters coming out?
Well, the combat log is coming soon, and so I imagine people will be deriving stuff on their own with third-party programs, stuff like that. As far as parsers, parsing the combat log. As far as an in-game type 1, it is one of those things on our list that we very much want to do. It's not in Game Update 1.2, so hopefully the near future after that.
Great. So you mentioned in the presentation before that you're very happy with where the game is at the moment. What's your take on the current PvP Warzones as the lead designer, and what have you learned going forward for their future?
So as a PvP lead designer and the whole PvP team, we wanted obviously like this long list of PvP features, right? But of course, when you design the constraints, I mean, and even as epic and hundreds of hours of content, so many features it has, there's certain choices you have to make and decisions. So we didn't get everything we wanted in there, but just seeing the overwhelming sort of response and participation in PvP, that the studio's been seeing, we've been able to prioritize a lot of PvP features. And so in Game Update 1.2, we'll start seeing that. So, I mean, generally speaking, I want to, a few updates out, just like completely round out the PvP experience, some of the areas that are missing. Like, competitive measure is huge, it's very important, and so that's why we're doing the phase 1 of the ranked stuff, because that is something that is missing from Star Wars PvP.
You mentioned the cross-server war zones. How's that going to be handled? Are we going to be using battle groups or preferably realm versus realm? With RVR, to at least keep that sense of community with your server. So that's the question. So
with crossover queuing, like we said in the past, the philosophy, like there's pros and cons. In competitive PvP, it's necessary, right? In casual PvP, it can conflict with building a PvP community. Now, so when we approach crossover queuing, we'll do it in such a way that it's going to preference to keep you with people on your server to try to keep that tight-knit community. But as soon as you start electing preferences like I only want to play this war zone or I want to do this specific thing, it's going to make it tougher for the system to match you with people on your server. So basically at that point you're opting in to say, I want to go broader. So we want to bring the choice into the player's hands. And we expect different type of behavior will evolve on different servers because there's all different types of communities that evolve, and it's always interesting to see. But ultimately we want to put the choice in the player's hands.
And is there any chance we'll see a larger scale instanced objective-based war zone, so that the community member mentioned the inevitable WoW and Alterac Valley, so something sort of large like that?
Yeah, no, definitely. It is something we very much want to do. And we are working on stuff like that.
Now, I'm going to ask one question about Ilum. From Chris, he says, as I said, the single biggest problem with Ill and PvP is the large-scale kill trading. Why aren't the organisers of kill trading, if not all participants of kill trading operations, banned for boosting/exploiting?
Well, it's definitely frowned upon behavior. I would want to. I think that they should be action. We are taking a look, like Jeff Hickman did in a post. We're tracking the people who are greatly exploiting the situation, and we're setting back valor. That's something that we're doing. As far as the kill trading goes, I mean, we're not banning the players for it right now. It is in 1.2. It's not going to be like, the end game PvP progression is going to be changing, and how the gearing up and stuff like that goes. So it's not. I guess the way to put it, it's not as much of a very small population of players are actually participating in that, and it's not as much of a sort of progression issue, I guess, as it is perceived to be, because of our interim sort of Valor rank requirement on the Battlemaster stuff, which is only a few % more than the champion. It's always, and if you followed any of the interviews and stuff I did leading up to launch, the Valor system is a prestige system. It's supposed to be like, hey, this is how much veteran I am with PvP. It is by no means a measure of skill. That's going to be more the elo rating, the rating type thing, and it'll be closer to that. It's not a measure of skill. It's a measure of how much PvP you put in, how much time you put in the PvP. And so we want to give like privileges like, hey, you're the leader in a war zone, and things of that nature. And we'll evolve Valor along those lines.
Right. Two last questions. One, are there any plans to allow trading up of planetary accommodations like dailies or high-level planet accommodations? I don't think I'm ever going to use my 56 Tatooine accommodations anytime soon.
Sure, yeah. We do have, it's not going to be the trading up, the direct trading up, but we do have some stuff in store for fun uses of the sort of accommodations you don't have use for anymore. But it's not going to be a trade-up type thing. But I can't say too much more about that, but that's going to be in a future game update.
Great. So the last question is in regards to, the servers went live, really good ping times locally, reports of sort of between 10 and 80 milliseconds, which for the WA people is brilliant, and a lot of happy people. Less so Asia, but that's a geographical thing. With the server transfers obviously not happening until late April, there's a bit of griping around that, particularly from the new point. There was not a lot of heads up in that the impression was given that, okay, it'll be pretty close to when the launch was. There's some upsides of that as far as not having a whole bunch of high-level characters causing problems for the lower-level characters, but was it always planned to have that delay, and has it got anything to do with sort of the implementation of the wider transfer stuff across the game?
Yeah, there definitely was no sort of like, hey, we're going to, delay it and trick, and there was nothing like that. It really comes down to us wanting to make sure the tech is solid, and that it's a good experience, it's smooth, and none of the character data goes at risk, etc. And so it's like, we're going to do it as soon as we possibly can, as long as we have the assurity that it's going to be as solid as we possibly make it. And that is what dictates the date.
And is that just for the free transfers, or is that the functionality across
well,
the game?
That's the free transfers. The functionality across the board, I don't actually have. I mean, it's something we're going to do. I actually don't know the information as to when we're going to release that. Because I think part of the decision that goes into that is an overall sort of conditioning of all the different servers and which ones we would allow and which ones we wouldn't, to make too high of queues. Because the live team, I think, has done a really great job, and having played MMOs since Ultima Online Beta, I mean, I think they've managed a phenomenal job with, there are some queues, but they're minimal. And just distributing the population across them and encouraging the distribution of population.
Excellent. Last one, have you seen people riding down the street on kangaroos yet?
I haven't yet. We went to the Opera House. We want to go to a zoo soon to see some of these crazy marsupials you guys have around here. But unfortunately, with the time that I have, I can only get so far out of Sydney to see sort of outback. I mean, if you have suggestions, let me know.
Okay. Gabe, thanks for your time.
Yeah, of course.